Ah shit, I love telling this story. Working in far northern Atlanta. Area where it's literally a huge ass forest and only signs of civilization is oil/gas wells and plants. It's all muskeg in forest area. Muskeg is scary just by itself. It's literally soft ground from decaying stuff in the forest that has grass growing on top. It can be immensely deep water/rotting plants and animals but thick enough to grow and some small trees to even take root. It's Alberta's quicksand. Moose are known to venture into it and get stuck and drown. In areas like this some of the wells can only be visited by most vehicles in winter. Some are even more remote and can only be accessed by helicopter even in winter. I picked up a pretty sweet job on one of the helicopter runs doing maintenance for 2 years. I want to stress these locations are at least 300 to 400 kilometers away from any real civilization at this point, and traveling in these areas is dangerous not only because of animals. One summer my pilot lands us down. As we land, a guy exits the little shack set up on site. He looks pretty normal. Little tattered and rough, but looks like a normal human. Fairly straight cut short black hair. Bit of a 5 o'clock shadow. Iron Maiden t-shirt that is way too large. Regular blue jeans. He's going towards the tree line. Yell out to him something like, "Hey, what are you doing here? We can help you get home." He keeps going. Yell out again, "What the fuck, man? How did you get here? We can help you." Pilot even yells out something like, "We can cancel our run and get you to safety." He makes it to the tree line while we are yelling. He stops. Looks back kind of. His face kind of slips into a smile. He then runs into the trees and disappeared. No one at work believed us. Still stuck with me. Not really paranormal, but truly the weirdest thing I have ever experienced. I just want to know what he was doing out there. Everything in the shack was normal. On my daughter's birthday, I got her a set of pastels and a notebook, among other various toys. She loved them and immediately went about scribbling some drawings in the notepad. Like any proud parent, I put a few on them up on the refrigerator. She drew things like the family cat, our house, her grandmother, my mother-in-law, and the goldfish. His name is Fishy. However, she started to draw some rather grim-looking pictures, featuring a purple-clad white or whatever she is. Apparently her name is Barbara. Neither I, nor my wife know anybody named Barbara. I asked who she was and she told me. She's the lady that watched me sleep. I was dumbfounded. I asked her, "What do you mean she watched you sleep?" She replied, "Yeah, she sits near my bed every night and watches me until I fall asleep." This got me very concerned, not only for the safety of my daughter, but for the well-being of my wife and other child as well. I have a newborn. That same day, I went out to the local hardware store and purchased security camera equipment. I installed it all around the perimeter of the house and put 2 cameras facing my daughter's room window. At this point, I thought it might be one of the local vagrants peeping in at my daughter. Since I don't live in the best neighborhood, this was entirely a possibility. We do have a few crazies that stay under the bridge nearby and take drugs. The next day, I asked my doctor if she saw Barbara that night. When she told me that she did, I went right to the security camera and reviewed the footage. I saw nothing. I had to be sure, so I went over it again, this time slower. Still nothing. It was then that I decided to set up security cameras inside her room. I didn't tell her about it, then I waited. The next morning, sure enough, she told me she had seen Barbara again. Upon viewing the footage, I saw nothing unusual. You cannot imagine the feeling of relief that swept over my body. I felt as if everything was going to be alright, and I can put this whole Barbara mess out of my head. That was, until my daughter came up to me. What she told me shook me down to my very core. She told me that Barbara was angry at me. She said that Barbara doesn't like being watched. She said that Barbara is going to hurt me if I don't stop watching her. These are the pictures of Barbara. Posted this one in a creepy thread ages ago. Story is from an ex-military guy I know from the pub. Pilot flying up in the Northern Territory. Radio into the airstrip, he knows the couple that run it. Says he'll be there in 4 hours, will radio when he's near the airstrip. Gets close to airstrip, radios the couple in. No reply. Circles and tries again, still no reply. Goes to airstrip in the next town over. Tells the lads working there the couple never picked up their radio. They call the police. Police come around to them, they all travel to the airstrip the couple own. Get there about 2 or 3 a.m. The lights in the house are off, but the spotlights are on. Some were shining off into the hill. They walk around the side of the house where the dogs are kept. 2 things they notice right away. The dogs are dead, but there was no sign of physical harm on them. They all had looks of terror on their face. It appears they were literally scared to death. Second thing was the side of the house was riddled with bullet holes, but they were fired from the inside out. They go into the house to find the couple dead on the ground with the man's AR-15 in his hand. They had a look of fear and shock on their faces, same as the dogs, and they were said to have died the same way as the dogs. Police radio it in. At dawn, most the other police and paramedics get there, and so do some lads from the Air Force. They saw them talking to the police, then came over to the locals and told them to fuck off out of here and don't tell anyone what they saw or may have heard. The guy who told the lad from the pub I go to was in the US Air Force and was involved with Project Blue Book and other UFO-related business. He told him strange lights and other strange events had went down in the area the night of the incident. B25. Living alone in a kinda shitty house in a bad neighborhood because can't afford anything better and won't live with roommates. Wake up close to 4 a.m. Hear a woman screaming outside. Look out window, see nothing. Screaming quiets, hear the faint sound of wood scraping across pavement. Think maybe some girl is getting raped out there. Grab a golf club I keep in my room for protection and a flashlight. Go outside. Anybody out here? Walk around backyard. See nothing. Still hear faint noise of wood scraping. Walk back to front yard. See something in the shadows near my neighbor's patio. Shine my light on it. WTF. It's a nude black woman's torso with freakishly long arms facing away from me. Long dirty hair. About 4 feet tall. Look down. Her lower body is some kind of flat-bottomed wooden thing, like she has a boat for legs. She turns her head toward me. Her eyes are empty sockets, she has no nose. Run the fuck back inside. Hear her scream at me, ear-rapingly shrill. Call the cops, tell them there's a crazy woman outside my neighbor's house, leave out the part about her having a boat thing for legs. Dispatcher man tells me cops will be there to investigate. They never show up because bad part of town and they have better things to do. Stay up all night with golf club in hand wishing I owned a gun. Hear wooden scraping for about an hour later. Stops close to dawn. Ask neighbor about it next day, he gets really anxious and sweaty, denies knowing what I'm talking about. Them was no fucking way he didn't see it. I think maybe he saw it too but was so freaked out he doesn't want to believe it. In 2009, an amateur video artist studying in the UK uploaded a video onto YouTube and other sites of a recent piece he did. After many reports and complaints, the video was removed from many sites. The piece allegedly begins with a shot of a foggy green field, some saying located in Ireland. Only sound that can be heard is a light hissing and some muffled speaking. The camera slowly starts zooming in on a white spot in the shot. After several tedious minutes, people describe a scene of involving an albino deer. A close-up shot of her eyes suddenly appear to viewers, showing some sort of infection or sign of blindness with them. The following shot then shows the deer staring at a vanity mirror for about a minute. After this, things start to become stranger. The deer in the reflection starts moving in dissonance with the real one. Zooming in, the camera focuses on the deer in the reflection, showing it move about it in a frightening manner. People have often described the movements as unnatural and physically grotesque, as though someone was molding her like a piece of clay. As these frightening movements continue, a shot of the real deer is shown again. This time, however, she's laying on the ground, strangely at peace. The shot goes on for approximately 2 minutes, still showing the grotesque gestures of the reflection, which is slowly starting to darken. The deer laying down then starts to excrete a black fluid from under her tail, suggesting a birth to occur. The tar-like substance continues to seep out from her, onto the ground. After this point, many people stop to report the video. Some accounts vary, but many describe a scene where a stillborn human child comes out of the lying deer, covered in something like tar. Some have claimed it's some made-up hybrid between human and animal the artist sewed together or did in post-production. After a close-up of the hybrid's face is shown, the mirror is shown to be broken, within an empty field. Black and white stock footage of a crowd applauding is shown in slow motion, and then the film ends with about 5 minutes of blackness and mumble/murmurs slowly fading in volume. Many people say the video can no longer be found online, whilst others say that the audio goes around file-sharing programs like SoulSeek and BitTorrent. Some even say they have attained the video itself through such means. Screenshots of it unknowingly pop up on image boards and sites such as Tumblr, but the video itself has been hardly seen outside of its initial debut. A year later, the artist posted another YouTube video, but this time it was just 5 minutes of a black screen and silence. However, the description contained a link to a webcam site. Viewers describe only seeing a couple of dangling, pale feet slightly rotating above a knocked-over chair. This one's gonna kinda be based off of something that happened to me a week ago. Here goes. Hey, is there a full moon tonight? I can't see it out of my side of the car, my roommate asked, half glancing at me before looking back to the road. We were going out of state to visit our respective families for the holidays, and we'd been driving for hours already. I peered out my window and looked around for a moment before I noticed something. Dude, I can see a planet. I leaned forward in the car and craned my neck up at the sky to see better. There among the stars was indeed a solid white dot, never twinkling or blinking. Nice and consistent. As I admired the sight, a moving dot caught my eye. Plane, I thought, watching it. Half a second later, I realized that it looked exactly like the planet I had spotted, white and unblinking. What is that? I wriggled out of my seatbelt and watched it soar across the sky at a leisurely pace. What's what? Looks like a plane, but it's not blinking or anything. Hey, wait! As my eyes traced its path, it faded to a dim orange and then vanished altogether, as though it had gone in a more vertical direction. What did I just see? I searched the sky for another glimpse, but it had vanished. You sure it wasn't a planer? My roommate asked, looking uncertain. I don't think it was, no. I looked around once more, and mere seconds later, I counted 16 planes in the sky, each with blinking lights and multiple colors.